I recreated Guns N' Roses' Knockin' on Heaven's Door, so let's take a listen. Hello everyone, welcome back to Make the Music. This is another episode of my series Match the Song, where I try to take famous songs from the rock, pop, and metal genre and recreate them in my DAW using commonly used tools that we have, instruments and things, and try to match the sound right on. If you like these kinds of videos, you should like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. What other songs would you like me to match in a future series? But anyways, I'm going to get right into the session and show you how I recreated this track, so let's get into it. Okay, so this is my session for Knockin' on Heaven's Door by Guns N' Roses. A very fun one to do. I love Guns N' Roses. I mean, who doesn't like some Guns N' Roses, right? We got guitars, we got pianos, we got amazing vocals. It was really a challenge, especially getting the guitar sound and vocal sound. I'm definitely no Axl Rose, so getting that to work was definitely a challenge. Let's start off with what we got going on the master bus. I think that's a good place to start here. So here's all the plugins I have. First off, virtual tape machine, pretty self-explanatory. Analog, this is 90s. I wanted to give it that analog flavor. This is Slate virtual tape machine. It's not doing a lot, but it just adds that tape saturation flavor to the entire track, and that's what I was looking for. The classic strip on the virtual mix bus, this is just adding a little bit of that console emulation flavor. The SSL compressor, this is doing like 3 to 4 dB during the compression during the loud parts of the track. I'll show you what that looks like. And then a limiter to bring the volume up to track volume. So for example, if we go here, I'll show you what the compressor is doing. So like 3, almost 4 dB of compression. I like to hit it hard on the master bus, but go with a low ratio, low attack, fast release. So I'm hitting it looks like I'm hitting the meter a lot, but it's not really doing that much compression as a whole. So if I take the entire master chain off, it'll sound like this. Still sounds fine, but once I add that mastering chain back in, the volume kind of comes up, everything kind of has this glued feel, and that's what is the importance of top-down mixing. It really gives your whole mix that glued feel. Now let's get into the drum sound. I'm using a couple different things here. I'm starting off with, I'm using EZdrummer 3, which I'm actually using the EZdrummer 2 modern kit for a lot of this, but I'm also triggering some samples as well. So if I solo the drums during this part, I'm using the, this kick's actually from the pop punk kit. I'm using the second kick, SCJ Heirloom with no hole. And a lot of these rack toms, they trigger some samples actually, but I'm just using the standard kit from EZdrummer 2, pretty sure. The snare is the big crack snare from the metal kit. I love that snare, and I threw that in there. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward drums-wise. I have some samples going on. This is a snare sample. Just add some pop, and then I have some tom samples here. And they're just adding some extra reverb, some extra arena feel. So that whole thing sounds like this. And I'm not really doing much mixing with the drums at all, honestly. I'm using a stock Reaper compressor to compress the whole drum bus. It's actually doing quite a bit of compression to help kind of rein it in and level out the drums quite a bit. But that was all I did for the drum parts, and it works well in the track. Now let's get to the bass guitar. I'm using a Bias FX2 tone match. I tone match the bass sound from Use Your Illusion. I can load the bias patch up here, but it'll be in the tone cloud if you want to download it. And then I threw on an extra compressor to that patch to even out the bass sound. The bass part is played so well. I mean, it's Duff McKagan, right? He's just an amazing bass player for the genre, for this band. There's a lot of high mids in this bass tone. It's very present sounding. It's very cool. It's got a little bit of gain to it, but it's mostly kind of clean. A lot of upper mids, some low end. But overall, it's just aggressive, and it's in the playing, and it's the way he plays it, and it just interacts with the guitars well. So that's what I have going on bass. Here's bass and drums together. Really about bass guitar, it's not always about having all these amazing plugins. Sometimes it's just about the player having a good sounding bass and then a great sounding part for the track. Now let's get into the guitars. So I have about 6 guitar tracks here, some rhythms, some cleans, and then a solo part for Slash's solo after chorus 1. I have these clean guitars here. They sound like this. And this is the amplitude patch for it. It's just going to be, I'm using the amplitude. This is all like the Slash pack that comes in amplitude when I got the full version of amplitude. So I'm using the Heaven's Door clean tone that they have as one of the options, but I made some modifications to it just to get it to fit better. So I do have the chorus enabled. I think I might have upped the volume a bit, but these are the settings: slash amp, slash cab with the JCM slash, and there's some EQ and things like that on the track, a little delay going on as well. But that is the clean tone. It's pretty simple. Nothing too complex there. Then I have 2 guitars. I have a Slash track and an Izzy track. Together they sound like this. As well as a lead track, kind of playing harmonics in the verse, and then an octave part during the chorus. So the Slash part is going to be one of the tones from Amplitude using the Slash amp. Pretty straightforward, not even a gain pedal really. There's just a lot of upper mids in a Guns N' Roses guitar tone, especially with Slash. If you listen to Appetite or you listen to Use Your Illusion, it's just very mid-range, upper mid-range heavy, very present. Sounds really cool. Izzy, it was a similar approach. I just made the tone slightly different because this sounds a little different than Slash's on the album. So I just messed with the EQ a little bit, but same thing from Amplitude. The lead center is the same as the Slash part. And then overall on the EQ, I'm just using SSL channel to add a little bit more upper mids to the guitars. I'm filtering out the ultra highs and ultra lows, and that's pretty much it for the guitar sound to get it to fit nicely. For Slash's solo, which I played to the best of my ability here, I'm using SSL channel before it hits the amp. I really like to try and even out the sound of my lead playing, use some compression, some EQ before it even hits the amp. So I used some rolling off some top and some lows there from the guitars. Then I'm using the Amplitude patch, Heaven's Door solo. I thought, why not use the preset? It's going to work well. It's got some reverb. It's got a little bit of delay on it as well. Yeah, it just fits well in the track. It's not the most gainy guitar solo sound, and it's kind of almost faded in the background a little bit during that part, but it works well. I'm using a limiter just to even out every note, especially when I'm on those high strings, and it's tough to really get a lot of gain and pick attack sometimes when you want to play delicately. So that's getting about 6 dB of gain reduction with the limiter. So that's pretty much the guitar parts. Pretty straightforward. It's just about getting the parts down and playing them nicely. I also have an acoustic guitar layer in here, playing through the whole song. It's in the right channel during the song. It's tough to hear sometimes, but it's just adding a nice texture. For the acoustic, I have some stock EQ, taking out some nasty sounding frequencies in my room that I don't like, rolling off some low end. Then I use the SSL channel to add some top end, filter out more low end, and then fresh air really adds the sparkle. Gives it that nice sheen. And I love this LA plugin to limit the guitar sound. So it just fits nicely in there with everything else. Then we do have some piano and strings parts. So for the piano, I'm using the DSK The Grand Piano. It's a free piano plugin, actually, believe it or not. If you download my guide, the Home Studio Toolbox, it's one of the plugins that I include in there. So if you download the guide in there, you can get access to this instrument plugin, piano. Just has that honky-tonk, you're in a Western saloon kind of feel, which is what the piano has that feel on this album, and it just works perfect for the part. And it's played kind of sloppy, it's played almost a little at a time, but it just kind of goes nicely with the feel of the track. Then I have 2 string tracks here. They're really in the background, adding atmosphere. They're not supposed to be super present, but they're just expand patches of big strings. I have a big strings 1, I think another octave up of that. In terms of processing, just rolling off a bit of low end, adding some top, nothing crazy. So those are all little things that add a bit of texture to this rock track and really make it kind of pop. Now let's get to the vocal. I did my best Axl Rose. He's just such an incredible vocalist. I gave it my best run. If it's not perfect, I'm okay with that. I'm never going to live up to that. But I thought I did it sort of justice on this track. Not a lot of vocal production. His voice is just amazing. There's a lead vocal for the verse and chorus. Mama, take this badge from me. And then I have it in the chorus part here. So what I have going on vocal wise here is a little bit of stock EQ, added some top, took out some lows, virtual mix rack, doing a lot here, trying to get the tonal balance right, because the low parts are kind of darker in timbre, and then when he goes to those higher parts, it gets really bright. So controlling that was kind of a bit of a challenge to get the vocal to sound consistent. But I have a gate that I'm using the Neumann microphone emulation, the 1073 drive, and just kind of using stages of compression and EQ using the shimmer and thickness tool and the distressor. That's doing 10 dB of gain reduction on the way in. Then using the CLA 76 blue channel. You can see that's like pegging it basically. But during the verse parts, it's really not going as hard. Still a lot of compression, trying to rein it in. Then a limiter. Trying to get it consistent. De-essing with Reaper stock de-esser. Then I use the CLA Epic Stereo to add some ambience. I think I have on the gate verb preset. And I just messed with that. Same thing with the Valhalla Supermassive. So if I take those off, it sounds just ultra dry. Gives it the ambience it needs, right? It's not super apparent, but it works in the track. And then I'm using Silk just to take out all the nasties when I'm belting during these parts, and there's a lot of just, you know, nasty high stuff going on. You see it's tame high-end male, and it's just knocking out the highs and some of the mids. So if I take everything off the vocal, knocking on Evan's door, hey, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Knock, knock, knocking on Evan's door. Not all the vocal plugins, it's just gonna make everything sound right. Knocking on Evan's door. So, and then the production on here is, during the verse part, you'll notice there's a lead vocal, but then there's actually like a high octave kind of panned slightly off center that he's singing. Mama, take this badge from me. He's kind of singing it like a little slightly at a time. It's so well done. You can hear when I play these together. Mama, take this badge from me. But he's doing it on all the verse parts. It's getting dark, too dark to say. Now I added a double in the chorus. I don't know if the chorus is doubled or not. I needed it to get it to sound a little fuller, but he may not double it. And then I used volume automation to up it in the chorus. And then over the solo, he's actually kind of crooning and singing some you know, ad-libbed lines. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just like, I brought the volume way down so it doesn't interrupt with the solo. But that is the track. So that's Knock on Heaven's Door by Guns N' Roses. This was a super fun one for me to do. If you enjoyed that, like the video down below and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what other songs you'd like to see, rock, metal, and pop. That's basically what I cover, and I always love a good challenge. I'm going to do a full playthrough of the track so you can listen to what I did, and download that home studio toolbox if you want access to some of the plugins that I used in this session. Anyways, let's do a full playthrough and let's listen to the track.